fairy tales actually weren't really written for a younger audience. Hello. Hey guys, my name is Nicole Birdy and I really love fairy tales. I love all the magic and the stories and just everything about it. And I know when you think of fairy tales, you might think of Disney, because Disney does a lot of fairy tales like Snow White, Cinderella, The Little Mermaid, you know, all that. What people may not think about are the original fairy tales, like the ones by the Grimm brothers. These fairy tales were actually really dark. One story I really love is Cinderella. Now, although most people only know the Disney version of it, there's the Grimm version, which I kind of find pretty interesting. So instead of having a fairy godmother, Cinderella talks to her dead mother who has grown into a tree. Kind of along the lines of Pocahontas, but I think it's a little bit different. Instead of glass shoes, she has gold shoes. Both stories do have this in common though, is the prince goes around and has all the ladies in the land try on a shoe. What most people don't know is that the evil stepsisters cut off their heel and toe. Ew. So by the time Cinderella tried on the shoe, it was all bloody and gross and stuff. You might think that's kind of stupid of the sisters, but you kind of have to feel a little bit bad for them because their eyes get picked out by birds. With Rapunzel, she got pregnant by the prince and the witch got really pissed off. So she banished Rapunzel into the desert, and somehow the prince fell into a bunch of thorns and poked his eyes out and stuff. So Rapunzel was left out in the desert and she gave birth to twins. And so somehow she finds her way back to the prince, cries into his eyes, and his eyes are healed. No big deal, I guess. Happily ever after, you know, all that. One fairy tale that I absolutely adore is the story of the Little Mermaid. There's so many retellings of this one, but one that I really love is that, so she met with the sea witch and she wanted to go meet her princess she saved and stuff. So the witch said she had to cut out her tongue, I believe it was, and that every time she walked it would feel like stepping on a bunch of knives. But the Little Mermaid was just so in love with the prince. She's like, I don't care, I really want to be with him. And so she does that and she lives her life in agony and stuff, and like every single step was like stepping a bunch of knives or glass shards. The heartbreaking part of the story though is that the prince never finds out that it was a Little Mermaid that saved him, because he always thought it was this one girl who had found him on the beach. It wasn't the witch like what Disney did, it was a different person. And so the sea witch goes to the Little Mermaid and says, well, since you couldn't make your deadline, you can either kill him and then live, or you can let him live and die. And so when a mermaid dies, they turn into sea foam. And so the Little Mermaid was so in love with him, she's like, no, I don't want to kill him. I can't bear that thought of killing him. And so she died. But because of that, that sacrifice that she made, she was given a soul, which another thing was the mer people didn't have souls, which is why they turned into sea foam. So she became a daughter of the sky and she floated around with her angel sisters or whatever. Like there's so many adaptations to these stories and they're all really fascinating. And recently there's been an uproar of fairy tale retellings, like Cinder, which is honestly my favorite book series. It's a retelling of Cinderella, and the whole series has like Cinderella, Red Riding Hood, Rapunzel, and Snow White. And they tell them in kind of the sci-fi, futuristic way that's actually really good and really funny. So you should definitely read those. There's so many more than that. That's just one that I really love. But there's one thing in common with all the fairy tales, Disney and Grimm alike, is that they all tell a story and they all have something to be learned from them. Different fairy tales teach you different lessons, whether it be good and evil, right and wrong. I guess those play in part of each other. Fairy tales, it's just weird to think about like that children grew up listening to the story. Like I don't know if parents really let their kids listen to these stories. I know a lot of people were really skeptic about it and thought it was too childish, but they're really dark. Like there's a lot of death in them and just this dark tones and lots of affairs and stuff. It's very weird. It's really interesting to watch the different fairy tales, and like you read the Grimm fairy tales and then you watch the Disney ones and you see how they like connect and how they overlap each other, and then you realize, yeah, this has been really dumbed down for children. I don't know, I really love fairy tales. Let me know in the comments which fairy tales are your favorite, and we can have a discussion about this. I love fairy tales, I hope you love fairy tales, and if you haven't checked out Grimm Fairy Tales, totally read them. Also, there are other authors that wrote fairy tales, I don't remember their names. Read the Lunar Chronicles because they're fabulous. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, comment below, and all the other fun stuff. Bye!